There's a ghost in my apartment. I'm sure of that. Nobody believes me, but I know he's real. While I'm writing this post, he is sitting on the couch facing the mirror. I can't see his reflection in the mirror, but I wonder what he sees when he looks at it. I have lived in the same apartment since I was 10 years old. My parents and I moved here in September of 2001. My parents hoped that a new home in a nicer neighborhood would help with their crumbling marriage, but it didn't work. My father left us not even a month later. Then it was just my mom and me here, and she wouldn't allow my father to see me. I would cry a lot during this time. One day, my father parked his car in front of the apartment building and kept honking his horn and yelling, demanding my mother to let him see me. She wouldn't give in. I didn't know what to do. I wanted so much to be able to see my dad, but I knew my mom would hate me if I said so I kept quiet. I locked myself in my room and walked in circles, with loud music playing in my portable CD player. I didn't want to hear my father's yelling. It was the first time I saw the ghost. I suddenly got goosebumps and stopped walking, as if I froze in place. I felt like there was something behind me. I turned around very slowly and I tried to look behind me, through the corner of my eye. It was something taller than me, and it was diffuse, as if I was looking at it through a dense mist. I could make up arms, extended in my direction. So that's how I knew it was a person-like figure. I turned quickly in its direction, and then it wasn't there anymore. My heart was almost bursting out of my chest, and for a moment, I forgot about my father, my mother, and the honking. The second time I saw the ghost was during a very weird day. My uncle Alex showed up unexpectedly to pick me up at school. He was my cool uncle, my mother's youngest brother, and he would play hide and seek with me and also had a very cool purple motorcycle. He took me to my home and played cards and board games with me. "Where's my mom?" I eventually asked. "Her friend had a baby, so she's with her in the hospital. She'll be home soon." For 3 days, Uncle Alex stayed with me in that apartment. He made me dinner, took me to school, and went to pick me up. And he also let me watch movies until way past my bedtime. And my mom was supposedly in the hospital with her friend. Not even 11-year-old me, who believed in magic and fairies and Santa Claus, believed what my uncle told me. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't piece together exactly what. And one of those nights, suffering from insomnia, I went to grab a glass of water in the kitchen, and I knew the ghost was there. He was standing there by the stove. I could see him through the corner of my eye, but I ignored him. I kept walking towards my bedroom, and I could feel he had extended his hand in my direction. In my mind, there was no doubt he was trying to grab me. I bolted towards my bedroom and locked myself inside it. It became our routine, even after my mom returned home from her visit to her friend and her baby. I would be in the kitchen or in the living room of the apartment, and then I would feel the ghost's presence. Sometimes I would see him with my peripheral vision. Other times, I would simply feel him moving right behind me, trying to grab me. He always tried to catch me, and I would run away from him to the presumed safety of my bedroom. Since the first time I saw him in my bedroom, he never got inside again. But I knew he was standing right by the door. I could see his feet in the gap under the door. He was there, waiting for me. I would only leave my bedroom when he left first. Sometimes it took hours. For many years, it happened recurrently. Sometimes it was 2 or 3 times a week. Other times it was every day. He would disappear for months, but always came back after a while. My mother thought it was the funniest thing ever. Me running around the apartment from an imaginary ghost, well into my teens. "What a silly boy," she would say. "What's going to happen when you start living on your own?" I would answer her that, hopefully, there wouldn't be any ghosts in my future home. Maybe my next apartment wouldn't be haunted like this one. She would answer that there's not such a thing as ghosts in haunted places. It's time for you to grow up and stop believing in nonsense. She never saw it. One night, when I was around 20 years old, I was coming home from college and I saw the ghost in the hallway, right in front of my apartment's door. I was looking at him straight and he didn't vanish. "Please, get out. I have to get in there," I thought, while I turned the hallway lights on. He looked at me straight in the eyes. I saw his mouth moving, forming words, but I couldn't understand them. There was no sound, but he seemed sad. Until that moment, that figure didn't have an expression. I couldn't make out his features. He was always diffused and vague. I would feel him more often than I would see his shadowy form. But at that moment, he looked like a person. That's why I call him a he, because the ghost was definitely a man. He had a large gray t-shirt and oversized jeans, and long dark brown hair, and stood there barefoot. He shook his head no. I blinked, and then he was gone. When I got inside my apartment, my mom was lying on the floor. Suicide, they told me. Her second attempt, apparently. In the hospital, they insisted that I got myself therapy. I had appointments with a psychologist, a psychiatrist, social work, and other people that I don't know very well what they were. They also gave me a small container with some drugs, which I found out later they were antidepressants. Apparently you feel depressed after your mother shoots herself in the head. What a surprise. The ghost became a constant presence in my life now. He attended my mother's viewing and funeral. I remember suddenly noticing him during the night in the cemetery. He even followed me to a McDonald's that night. When I went to grab something to eat at 3 in the morning, I wouldn't run away from him anymore. I didn't care, and I didn't even know if I would have the energy to do so back then, because I felt completely drained. He would loom by the corners, just standing there, looking at nowhere in particular. He didn't seem to notice me, and I pretended I couldn't notice him. Sometimes I would get that awful feeling and feel his arms closing around me. However, I would pretend there was nothing wrong and would just move away, deciding out of the blue to grab some water. The ghost also respected my bedroom's closed door, never getting inside, but I knew he was standing on the other side. During one of my therapy sessions, the psychiatrist asked me if I had ever experienced auditory or visual hallucinations. Did you ever see or hear something or someone that only you were able to? That gave me pause for a moment, and the psychologist scribbled furiously in his notepad. Ghost or hallucination? My mother never saw him. She would only see me run away from him. He never showed up when I had a friend over, or when Uncle Alex was staying with me. Only when I was alone. This was what I told the psychiatrist, and then she sent me home with a prescription of antipsychotics and a stronger antidepressant. I'm not sure if the drugs were to blame or not, but nightmares became a frequent occurrence for me. I would move around while I slept, all the bed sheets on the floor the next morning. Some nights I couldn't sleep at all. I would stare at the ceiling and wish I was just able to turn off. I would bargain with someone, just someone who could help me. Come on, I need to sleep. I need to work tomorrow. I just want to sleep. Please let me sleep. And those were my nights. Nobody ever answered my prayers. Except for the ghost, of course. I wouldn't see him every day, but once in a while he would be around, just standing by the stove or in one of the corners of the room. The psychiatrist told me he would increase my dosage. Clearly, the antipsychotic wasn't working. I would call the antipsychotic Donnie, short for Risperidone, because we were already well acquainted at this point. My psychologist told me I was using humor to avoid facing my problems. I would just roll my eyes at him. I wish I had said, and there's a single person in this world who can only think about their problems the whole time. But I only thought about this later. I still couldn't sleep very well. Basically, I couldn't sleep at all. I would turn off sometimes when exhaustion would take me over, and I would wake up after a couple hours feeling like someone beat me the whole night, because my whole body would ache. There was one particular night at the time that I don't think I could ever forget. I'm lucky I don't have heart issues, because if there was ever a time for me to have a heart attack, that was the time. I was laying in my bed, begging mentally for sleep, trying to bargain with my own brain. I'm not sure if I slept or not, but the next thing I remember is whispering right by my ear. I couldn't understand the words, but I could feel the breath and hear the sound. I could also feel the weight in my bed, as if there was someone lying right by me. My whole body felt paralyzed and I couldn't move at all, feeling suffocated. The whispers continued, and I thought I wanted to move. I wanted to open my eyes, but my body simply wouldn't. I tried to open my mouth to scream, but the only thing I managed was a small groan because my lungs hurt and breathing already took so much effort. I thought I was dying. I just felt scared. So scared. And the whispers wouldn't stop, making me feel horrible. Then I heard very clearly, but also in a hushed voice, "Not him." Not him what? I remember thinking. Then I noticed the whispers had stopped. "I know you love him." Then I felt like a weight was being lifted away from me. I swear I could feel the mattress moving under me as something moved. "But you can't help him," the voice kept saying in a low, hushed, calm tone. "You're hurting him." I couldn't recognize the voice and I kept thinking, who's speaking? Who was whispering? And at the same time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to know the answer. I already felt capable of moving, wiggling my fingers. I didn't want to open my eyes though because I was afraid of what I was going to see if I did. Then I felt it, a hand caressing my hair. Just once, very lightly, soft. It didn't feel uncomfortable, but it gave me sudden courage to jump out of my bed and run to turn the lights on. My bedroom was empty. I can't say I'm surprised, but I was a bit disappointed, also terrified. I told my psychiatrist about this episode. She seemed exasperated that I wasn't showing any signs of recovery and gave me a prescription that looked more like a shopping list. I, however, ripped the paper in small pieces, crumpled them and threw them away in the trash can I could find in the street outside of the hospital. "I'm done with therapy. I'm considering myself cured," I thought as I walked home. I got inside my apartment and the living room was empty, but as I turned to hang my umbrella on the rack, I saw the ghost leaning against the wall by the TV rack. I started speaking before I could realize I was actually speaking out loud. "Listen here, dude. You're freaking me out, and I'm not sure I'm ever going to be 100% fine with you hanging out here. But since you're already here, then I ask you, pretty please stop showing up randomly. At least make some noise, damn it." Maybe I got completely insane, but I yelled at a ghost or at my hallucination. For a while, I thought he couldn't understand me, that he wouldn't even acknowledge me. However, he tapped the TV rack 3 times and blinked at me. "That works," I told him. And that leaves us where we started this account. I heard him tapping the TV rack in the living room and saw him setting himself on the couch. I waved him hi and went back to my computer to write you the story. Just now, I heard the tapping sound again by the door frame, and he's standing right by my bedroom door, which is open for a change. I don't even care anymore. Maybe I'm crazy or haunted, but whatever. At least I'm able to sleep better after talking it out with him.